So once again, good day everyone. So this time our topic is an important part also in research. That is the qualitative and quantitative research, no? So quantitative data is information about quantities, and therefore numbers. So kapag sinabi natin quantitative, numbers, no? And qualitative data is descriptive and regards phenomenon which can be observed but not measured, such as language, no? So when it comes to qualitative research, no, this will be the process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting non-numerical data, no? Qualitative research can be used to understand how an individual subjectively perceives and gives meaning to their social reality. Qualitative data is defined as non-numeric data such as text, video, photographs, or audio recording. And this type of data can be collected using diary accounts or in-depth interviews and analyzed using grounded theory or thematic analysis. So, qualitative research is multi-methods in focus involving an interpretive, naturalistic approach to each subject matter. And this means that qualitative researchers study things in their natural settings, attempting to make sense of or interpret phenomena in terms of meanings people bring to them. So, on the other hand, no, we have also, of course, the methods, no? Methods. We have also a what do you call this one? A data analysis, no? When it comes to qualitative data. On the other hand, no, quantitative research involves the process of objectively collecting and analyzing numerical data to describe, predict, or control variable of interest. So the goals of quantitative research are to test causal relationship between variables, make prediction, and generalize research or results to wider population. So quantitative research aims to establish general laws of behavior and phenomenon across different setting or context. Research is used to test a theory and ultimately support or reject it. So to discuss with us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter.
Good morning, Doc Abante. Good morning, classmates. For today's report, I will discuss the qualitative and quantitative research. To begin with the discussion, let me discuss to you what is qualitative research. Qualitative research is involved collecting and analyzing non-numerical data, example, text, video, or audio, to understand concepts, opinions, or experiences. It can be used to gather in-depth insights into a problem or generate new ideas for research. Whereas quantitative research is the process of collecting and analyzing numerical data. It can be used to find patterns and averages, make predictions, test causal relationships, and generalize results to wider populations. For the next slides, what is the purpose of qualitative research? To understand and interpret social interaction. If you want to use the qualitative research, you can use the qualitative research to understand something such as concept, thoughts, and experiences. While quantitative, the purpose is to test hypotheses, look and cause and effect. You can use quantitative to test or confirm something, instance, a theory, or a hypothesis. Moving on to the next slide. These are the types of qualitative research methods. First, in-depth interview. It involves a personal interview or casual conversations with a single person at a time. When in-depth interview is conducted face-to-face, it gives the opportunity to read the body language of the respondents and match the responses. Next is focus group. Focus group is also the one commonly used qualitative research methods. A focus group usually includes a limited number of respondents, 6 to 10 from within your target market. This method is very useful when it comes to market research on new products and testing new concepts. You don't necessarily need to interact with the group in person. It can be digital. Next is ethnographic research, the most in-depth observational method that studies people in their naturally occurring environment. These research designs aim to understand the cultures, challenges, motivations, and settings that occur. Instead of relying on interview and discussion, you experience the natural settings in firsthand. Fourth is case study research. It has evolved over the past few years and developed into a valuable qualitative research method. It is used for explaining an organization or an entity. Case study, as we all know, it is one of the simplest ways of conducting research because of interfair deep dive data. This method may look difficult to operate. However, it is one of the simplest ways of conducting research. The fifth is record keeping. This method makes use of the already existing reliable documents and similar sources of information as the data source. It holds historical facts, books, and other references materials to collect the data that makes it reliable. Lastly, qualitative observation. It's a process of research that uses a subjective methodologies to gather systematic information or data. This doesn't involve measurements or numbers, but instead the characteristics. The focus of qualitative observation is the research process of using subjective to gather information or data. Next, what are the qualitative research approaches? First is ground theory. Ground theory, researchers collect rich data on a topic of interest and develop theories inductively. Dito, it involves collecting data in order to develop new theories. Second, ethnography. Researchers immerse themselves in groups or organizations to understand their cultures. When we say ethno, it derives from the word ethnic, which means culture or cultural. Third, action research. Action research, researchers and participants collaboratively link theory to practice to drive social change. Here, Action research is to derive innovative changes. Fourth is phenomenological research. Research investigates a phenomenon or event by describing and interpreting participant live experiences. And this phenomenological research involves investigating phenomena through people's lives experiences. And lastly, narrative research. Research examines how stories are told to understand how participants perceive and make sense of the experiences. In narrative research, it involves interpreting stories to understand how people make sense of their experiences and perceptions. Let's go to the next slide. Qualitative data collection. Qualitative data can take the form of text, photos, and audio. Most types of qualitative data will share the same 5 steps. First, prepare and organize your data. Second, review and explore your data. The third is develop a coding system. Fourth, assign codes to the data. Fifth, identify recurring themes. In preparing and organize your data, this may mean transcribing interviews or typing field notes. Second, review and explore your data. Examine the data for patterns or repeated ideas that emerge. Third, develop a data coding system. Based on your initial ideas, establish a set of codes that you can apply to categorize your data. Fourth, assign codes to the data. For example, in a qualitative analysis, this may mean going through each participant responses and tagging them with codes and spreadsheets. As you go through your data, you can create new codes to add your system if necessary. For the next slide, there are several specific approaches to analyzing qualitative data. All these methods share similar process. They emphasize different concepts. First, the content analysis. Content analysis to describe and categorize common words, phrases, and ideas in qualitative data. Here in content analysis, for example, a market research could perform content analysis to find out of what kind of language is used in descriptions of therapeutic apps. Second, thematic analysis to identify and interpret patterns and themes in qualitative data. In thematic analysis, a psychologist could apply thematic analysis to travel blogs to explore how tourism shapes self-identify. Textual analysis to examine the content, structure, and design of text. It explains a media researcher could use textual analysis to understand how news coverage or celebrities has changed in the past decade. Last, discourse analysis to study communication and how language is to achieve effects in a specific context. For example, a political scientist could use a discourse analysis to study how politicians generate trust in election campaigns. Next, what are the advantages and disadvantages of qualitative research? The advantages is flexibility, natural settings, meaningful insights, generation of new ideas, while the disadvantages is unreliability, subjectivity, limited, labor-intensive. Let's move to the next method, the quantitative research methods. In research methods, there are two research methods, which is primary quantitative research methods and secondary quantitative research methods. Primary research is that the researcher focuses on collecting data directly rather than depending on the data collected from previously done research. While secondary quantitative research method is a method that involves using already existing data or secondary data. Existing data is summarized and collated to increase the overall effectiveness of research. Under the primary quantitative research methods, we have first the techniques and types of studies. Under techniques and types of studies is four types of techniques and types of study. First, survey research. Survey used to ask questions to a sample of respondents using various types of such as online polls, online surveys, paper questionnaires, web intercept, survey, etc. Where in survey research, we have cross-sectional surveys. Cross-sectional surveys or observational surveys conducted in situation where the researcher intends to collect data from a sample of the target population at a given point in time, while longitudinal surveys are also observational surveys, but unlike uncrosstional surveys, surveys are conducted across various time duration to observe a change in respondent behavior and thought processes. Next, correlation research. Correlation research is conducted to establish a research between two closely knit entities and how impacts the other and what are the changes that are eventually observed. This research method is carried out to give value to naturally occurring relationships, and a minimum of two different groups are required to conduct this quantitative method. This relationship between choosing to, for example, the relationship between choosing to work from home and returning to office due to the level of coronaphobia in employees. As for me, it is most convenient to work from home given the situation we currently have, but as the business or company requires, it is a must to once in a while go back to our offices. Third, causal comparative research or quasi-experimental research. This method is used by researchers to conclude the cause and effect equation between two or more variables, where one variable is dependent on the other independent variable. Here, this is to analyze how various variables or groups under the influence of the same changes. For example, the cause is the online class arrangement in public school, and the effect is non-standard knowledge transfer for students. Last, experimental research. This research is reliant on theory. This theory has not been proven in the past and is merely a supposition. In experimental research, it is based on theory and it's not proven. That is why called experiment. For example, which is the leading brand of vaccine of the anti-COVID vaccine? No one proves that Pfizer is better than Moderna and Moderna is better than um, Sinovac. No one proves until now which is better leading brand of the vaccine. Second, data collection methodologies. In data collection methodologies, we have probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Under probability sampling, we have four types. First, simple random sampling. Second, stratified random sampling. Third, cluster samplings. And last, for systematic sampling. While the non-probability sampling, we have five types, and these are convenience sampling, consecutive sampling, conta sampling, snowball sampling, and judgmental sampling. Last, data analysis techniques. In data analysis techniques, it is important to consider aspects of research which were not considered for the data collection process and report the differences between what was planned and what was actually executed. It is required to select precise statistical analysis method such as SWOT analysis, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis. Next, conjoint analysis, cross tabulation, and last, turf analysis, which means totally unduplicated reach and frequency analysis. In SWOT analysis, the statistical analysis techniques to evaluate their performance internally and externally to develop effective strategies for improvement. Conjoint analysis is a market analysis method to learn how individuals make complicated purchasing decisions. Cross-tabulation is one of the preliminary statistical market analysis methods which establish relationships, patterns, and trends within the various parameters of the research study. And turf analysis is executed in situations where the reach of a favorable communication source is to be analyzed along with the frequency of this communication. Let's go to the next slide. The secondary quantitative research method. Under secondary quantitative research method, we have data available on the internet. Data available on the internet, information about most research topics is available online, and this aids in boosting the validity of primary quantitative data as well as proving the relevance of previously collected data. Second, government and non-government sources. It can also be conducted with the help of government and non-government sources that deal with the market research reports. Public libraries. Public libraries have copies of important research that were conducted earlier. Educational institutions conduct in-depth research on multiple topics, and hence the reports that they publish are the important source of validation in quantitative research. Last, commercial information sources. In commercial information sources, local newspapers, journals, magazines, radio, and TV stations are great source to obtain data for secondary quantitative research. Let's move to the advantage and disadvantages of quantitative research. The advantages are the replications, direct comparison of results, large samples, hypothesis testing, while the disadvantage is superficiality, narrow focus, structural bias, lack of context. What is the difference of qualitative versus quantitative? Qualitative deals with the words and meanings, while quantitative deals with numbers and statistics. The primary focus of qualitative is exploring ideas and formulating theories, while primary focus is on testing theories and hypotheses. Regarding the respondents, qualitative requires few respondents, while quantitative requires many respondents. It is open-ended questions in qualitative, while quantitative close multiple choice questions. In qualitative, data collection method includes interviews, focus group, case studies, and literature review. In quantitative, data collection method includes surveys, experiments, and observation. Last, data analysis method includes thematic analysis, discourse analysis, and content analysis. While quantitative is data analysis method includes finding common patterns in the data using tools such as Excel. Before we end the discussion, let me leave you a message from Evgenia Ivonina. Use quantitative research if you want to test for confirming something. Use qualitative research if you wish to understand something. Thank you. This is the end of my discussion.